Barcelona, though. Let's talk about them for just a second, because you can't stand this high line, can you? What did you think of their draw today against Club Brugge?
I hate being the guy that keeps talking about the high line. Imagine what they feel like. This is the issue. This is the line. This is the back line of Barcelona, right? And then, you know, they're sort of their midfield three in here. That's fine. And then their front three are doing this. Okay, fine. They're actually not in bad shape. But when you start to consider this distance here, and there's no pressure on the football. When there's no pressure on the football, right? I'm not a genius. When there's no pressure on the football, this back line has to drop. This has to go in this direction here. This back line, no pressure here, means you have to drop, right? If there's pressure coming here from this defender and it's sliding fast, then they can all shift together and get tight, and then they can all come down and put pressure on this side of the football and get on this side of the field, leave this side empty, and put pressure on this side of the football, right? If that makes any sense. But when there's no pressure, this back line has to drop. Let's see if they drop. They don't drop. They all step. So you see what happens here? They all come step forward here. And then all it takes, because if you watch, he's off. He looks off, right? Or they're close. But all it takes in this scenario is one guy to time it, or even a run from the midfield running this way as this back line is dropping this way. And all it takes is one pass, and we saw it in last year's semifinal against Inter. We saw it with 14 passes, they scored 7 goals against this Barcelona side. And you're putting these defenders in situations where they cannot be successful.
It's also unnatural for centre-backs, right? They don't want to get that high. They want to be closer to the goal. They want to see the game in front of them. You would know, obviously, being a centre-back as well, Poppy. But I think you need to be in this situation where you're asking them to run really high, go forward, where their natural reaction for such a long time is to go, there's danger there, run backwards. Now they're having to second-guess and go, there's danger there, run forward. And that's why you saw that line where Grella just showed us there. They don't all run at the same time. It's disjointed, and that's what allowed the Brugge player to be onside, and they go and score. But it's not, as Mike said, it's not one time we're seeing this. We saw it 3 times in this game alone. This is just something that now is bordering on arrogance to me. It needs to now be a case of, right, players on the pitch go, he wants us to do that, but we have to get out of here with a win. So let's just, for the next 5 minutes... Would
you actually do that? Would you go against what, you know, because it's such a distinct style of play? So if you were in Barca's back line, would you say, boys, let's not do this today?
I think so, because when you're in this situation, you have to be in a position to win the game. The only time a manager will tell you off, or a coach tells you off, is when you don't win the game. So they'll look at these clips now and say, oh, we could have done this better, we could have done that better. My frustration with it all is that when you're at this high level that they're playing at, once you give players 5 yards of space, you're not catching them. You're not catching them. So now, as a player, you need to think, right, we've got a framework, we know what we're doing, but actually the individual quality that I have, it's like, Grella, let's see this next 10 minutes out. Right, we're just going to drop 5 yards. I know he's going to scream, I know he's going to shout, we'll deal with that, but let's just get through this game. And if it wasn't for Lamine Yamal, they would be in serious trouble.
Why do you think he's so committed to playing like this, Grella? Because we didn't see it with Bayern Munich when they won the Champions League. We didn't see it with the German national team. So why is he so obsessed with playing this high line with Barcelona with such a high risk and high reward?
Well, because they get a lot from it also. In this way, they're also able to suffocate other teams, right? So for majority of the games, or over the course of, in La Liga, 38 games, when they play this way, they really suffocate the other team. You'll see in a large amounts of the game that Barcelona plays in, the other team can't get out. They can't breathe, because the second they win possession, it's like the press after loss is so good because the field's so condensed, right? So I got no issue with the way they play. It's just the example we show is when there's no pressure on the football, you have to say, okay, maybe in this situation, not every situation, but maybe in this one, we'll drop 5 yards. Like Troy says, sometimes you don't have to drop it to the edge of your box. We're not saying to play in a low block. What we're saying is when there's no pressure on the ball, that line has to make 5 yards back. Because then they could still from there maybe defend in certain situations, right? Because even in the example we showed, they're in a good shape. They're just too high up the field, and they're allowing... You don't even have to be a good player to break that back line, by the way. No. So ball that goes wide, any player, especially at this level, any player, any professional footballer, they get their head up like this, and they see that back line that's all jagged and stretching, and you don't need to be good. Any little dink pass, any little straight pass. And by the way, not all 4 attackers from Club Brugge had to time it. One guy. Yeah. One guy, he doesn't have to be a smart guy. He just has to be looking around and say, okay, boom. As that ball goes, as that line steps, he can run from 5 yards the other way because the line's going like this. He can run from 5 yards late. And this is not anymore my opinion or Troy's opinion. This is a matter of fact. We have a sample size larger than anything I've ever seen of it continues to happen. And so when I saw them lose last year in the semifinal, and I was so excited to watch them play, I would pay the ticket to watch Lamine Yamal play because I think it's so fun. All the fantastic players they have. When they attack, fun to watch. But I watched from last season to this season, and I looked and I said, did they improve at all? Did they improve this major issue that they have at all? And in fact, they've actually gotten worse somehow at it. They've actually been so stubborn or arrogant or whatever word you want to use and not address the issue at all. It's the same exact back line. They're making the same exact movements. They're making the same exact timing issues. And so when I look at that, I say, okay, this is not a team that's going to win the Champions League.
How did they get worse from that?
Because it's 3 goals exactly the same. They're all carbon copies today. So the example of getting worse is that you're not letting in, let's say you was letting in 2 last year, now you're letting in 1. You get a little bit better. You're letting in 3 of the same goal. And you just to go to your point there, you're talking about you don't have to be a smart player or a great player. When you're now doing the build-up and you're trying to break down this Barcelona team in all your meetings, it will say, as soon as it comes forward and you're 20, 30 yards from your own line, just play it first time. Don't even look. Just put it in there behind first time. Take a risk because you only have to get it right once. And I just think for me, it's a little bit naive. They are great going forward. They can suffocate you when it's in your half. But as soon as it gets past that mid-block and you've got no pressure on the ball, to Grella's point, drop. 5 yards, 10 yards. Just give yourself a chance to reset, and then you can go and press again. So, but for me, it's bordering on arrogance now.
Nigel Reo-Cocker has just walked into the chat.
Quicker than yesterday.
Wow-wee, Barcelona got away with one, innit, chaps? Wow-wee. Just had a passionate argument with Nico about the penalty or the goal that didn't stand for Club Brugge to get the win. Not a foul.
Yeah, they could
Absolutely
right?
not a foul.
We didn't even talk about that yet, actually. By the way, if you missed the game, Club Brugge could have won that game 4-3, but obviously the penalty. What did you think about the penalty then? You don't think it was a foul?
The penalty, no, it wasn't a penalty for sure, because he does, the Club Brugge striker, I think it's Forbes, steps on the Barcelona player's foot. But the winning goal that they did get from, I think, is it Szczesny trying to do the Cruyff and losing the ball and giving a foul away, that was not a foul. I don't care what anyone says. That is what you call soft for me. That, for me, was a big mistake. But everything that these guys said, I've heard most of it, is exactly true. It's arrogant how they play. The first goal they conceded, most people, and Troy's probably got better experience than me because he's managed the club, you teach your defenders to defend. If someone's making a run offside, that's when you hold your line. If you know someone might be running offside and he's going to stay onside, you follow your runners. That's otherwise we'll criticise you and say that's lazy defending. Barcelona's one is, they don't even hold a line. They try and step up a line where everyone can see it now. There's enough video out there from the analysts to see that they don't just hold the line. They actually try and step up, which is crazy. And like you said, a perfectly timed run, or you teach your strikers, like these two were, they're going to step up. So when they step up, just bend your run like that, you'll still be onside. And you've got half the pitch to run into to score a goal, which is exactly what happened for the Club Brugge goal. Because as a player in the middle actually bends his run, you see the Barcelona players stepping up. And it's ridiculous for me.
At some point, you have to just look at the situation. You're building something special. It's obviously a team that just won La Liga, right? We're not talking about some scrub team. We're talking about one of the world's best teams with some of the best players, playing some of the most fun football to watch. But if you can't look at that as a fan base, as a manager, as a club, as a board, as whoever, and look at that and say, okay, this is all great, but we're getting beat with one pass. We're getting beat with 2 passes. You know, that. If you can't look at that and be subjective about it and say there has to be a way, you don't have to scrap the whole thing, but you have to change it. Then that's a major problem. It's like you have a peanut allergy and it makes you sick every time you eat peanuts, and you keep on eating peanuts. It's crazy. You do something that's hurting yourself.
Yeah. But you know what? The thing is, people argue that they still drew today. They're still drawing and winning games, and it benefits them more so than it actually does hurt them. That's how they'll look at it.
Let's have a look at the goal that was disallowed then, and just show you in case you missed it.
Oh, I had a passionate argument with Nico here. For me, that there is just getting away with it there. That is not a foul in any game of football, and that's the problem sometimes that VAR causes. Look, doesn't win the ball, goes for the block. Szczesny tries to...
But he goes to plant his leg, and then his leg gets taken away.
He doesn't plant. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's trying to initiate contact, and that look on his face says it all. That is not a foul. That is categorically not a foul.
He's trying to put his leg back and he takes his leg.
But he knows he's lost control of the ball. He's lost control of the ball, and the Club Brugge player knows that the ball is behind him. How are you going to get round him?
But he's never touched the football, the player that slides either.
He wasn't. His intention was to get a block in. And yes, Szczesny does the Cruyff. If you look, he's just trying to get a block in. That's it, working hard. The ball's behind him and he knows it. There, look at that.
He's searching for contact. I see what you're saying.
That is not a foul.
I see what you're saying.
That is a goalkeeper trying to be smart and loses control of the ball.
He kind of leaves his left foot out there to get it.
That's not a foul.
There's also one thing. Goalkeepers, just use your hands.
Yeah.
This is why we don't need goalkeepers playing.
But look at the face. That is what annoys me.
I agree with you.
That face knows he got away with one.
He left his left foot out there, like looking for contact.
Pre-VAR, that is not going to be given. That is not going to be taken away. Look at that face. He knows he got away with one there because he lost control of the ball. I had to have a passionate argument with Nico.
Christina Unkel? You're judging fouls based on faces now?
Based on faces. Listen, you've been on the pitch and you know when you do something, you got away with one with there.
Unkel says she needs to see an X-ray to decide whether it's a yellow card or a red card.
Listen, Barcelona got away with one.
The severity of the challenge determined by the injury and the outcome.
Got to see X-rays.
No, but moments like that just really frustrate me, though.
Yeah,
that's what it is for me. I think Club Brugge played fantastically well today, matched up a big Barcelona side. Club Brugge, a selling club, really and truly. They're probably, I would say, Nico gave a great comparison. They're the Borussia Dortmund of the Belgium league. They'll develop players and they sell them on, and that's what they do. Great match they played today, did some great stuff, and it wasn't that they were dominated by Barcelona. They had their periods where they suffered, but they were better organised. Barcelona were fortunate for the equalising goal, which was a hopeful ball by Lamine Yamal into the box. Gets a deflection, they get it. But for me, that winner for Club Brugge should have stood. That is not a foul. I don't care who says it.
I agree with you. I agree with you. It's not a foul for me either.
I suppose as a centre-back as well, in the back line of Barcelona, would you feel a bit nervous playing in that back line, Troy? Like there's so much pressure on you to try and catch them offside that you don't want to be the person in such a high line to be the one to leave them on?
I'd be worried about my hamstrings because every time you get forward, it's a race. We don't have the stats to hand, but I guarantee you they're doing 20, 30 sprints that way because every time they get up and then it's literally get into a set position because you know you're going to have to sprint. And it's chance. I know they're trying to say that the law of averages works in their favour because they keep going forward, but it is chance. If you get it wrong, it's a 60-yard sprint back. Yeah. And for centre-backs, they don't want to be facing their own goal. Strikers, we want to be running knowing that the defender's coming because all I have to do then is step across you and you can't touch me. You're dead in the water. Yeah. So for me, if I was a centre-back there, I would be nervous. It would be unnatural for me. I know they're going to train it, but I'd also be saying, physically, when have we ever had to do this? When have we ever had to sprint this far back? I just think it's an issue. But
also, Hansi Flick did make a point in last week, I think, or the week before, talking about basically, yes, you're going to run long distance because we're too far away from the opponent's goal. And the reality of what he's trying to say is their press hasn't been good enough. They're not aggressive in the press area to lock and win the ball back. And he feels that if they're more aggressive in the press to win the ball back higher up the pitch, then they'll be OK. But the problem is they're not winning the ball higher up. The press isn't together as a unit. But it's individually going, and that's how they get exposed at times.
Of course, but as we all know in the game, like, you're not going to be able to get the press right every time for 90 minutes.
Impossible.
But what he's talking about is further up the field, they need to do more to help the defenders. Yeah. But when that then gets out, like they did 3 times today in the game, you need to have that like secondary position, that factor in your head to go, OK, they're out, we've got to drop to a mid-block. Yeah. But they go, we're full press, they get break out of it, and they go, oh, we'll full press still. And that's the issue I have with when you break out of it, you've got to drop into mid. I wouldn't say they need to go low block because then it just becomes a massive spaces. Yeah. And we've seen with teams like Man United, the more it gets stretched, the more the midfield suffers. But once you get out of that press, drop to the mid and then go, right, we're in front now, we can still see everything. But they go from a high press to an ultra high press where there's no pressure on the ball.
Will Club Brugge be feeling hard done by, won't they? I think Christina Unkel's ears must have been burning, Grella, because guess what?
I love Unkel.
Oh, gosh. Oh, boy.
Yes, Unkel's here.
Here we go. I'm going to get 6 years in the pen because she's not going to defend me, but come on, bring it on.
I will always defend you, Nigel. It just matters if you can play my billable hour, that's all.
Good to see you, Christina. Let's start with what we just saw with Szczesny then in goal. Was it the right decision to call that goal back?
It technically is the correct decision. I can tell you from an instinctual feeling, and you see right there, he pulls the ball back, right? There's not that contact from the attacker there. And you can tell that by the trajectory of the ball outside of just simple, video analysis. There's also the trajectory of the ball. Why I hesitate here slightly on this is because without VAR, this would be something that we feel within our gut. That's on the keeper, right? He was playing around messing with the ball. We're not going to save him from it. But when you have clear videotape that there's no contact, then yes, in this day and era, you do have to call that as a foul coming out, even though in my gut and just kind of instinctual refereeing back in the days, we would never have called that. And we said that's on the keeper. But for today, that's the right decision.
All right, but Christina, you're saying that there's no contact on the ball. I'm just taking it from a player's perspective. And Grella and these two probably did it if they actually got their butts in gear to defend for the team. That is a striker running just to try and get a block on the ball. So initially, you're trying to run just to stick your foot out your body there to stop the goalkeeper from kicking it out. The goalkeeper messes around, does a Cruyff, then you can see he's got no control of the ball's behind him, and you're trying to get round him, and the goalkeeper just sticks his leg out like he's doing the okie dokie, and then that's a foul now.
Like this okie dokie, turned yourself around. So one thing I was looking at for this, I know Anthony Taylor would have been looking for as well, is was there a quote unquote secondary movement from the keeper in the sense, to your point, his leg is extended naturally as it is. Did he do a second kick out to try to initiate that contact itself? And replaying it over, he didn't do this like deliberate secondary kick out to initiate that contact for that foul. It happened so quick and bang, bang. We see it in the slow replay, but when you do it in full replay and full speed and in the slow replay, there is no intentional, deliberate secondary movement to initiate that contact. So that is something that is being looked at from the referees on the standpoint. Is the keeper trying to create that foul because he was messing with the ball and it was on himself for not playing fast football?
I think there's a little movement. I think there's a little
There is a little movement. That's why he smiles at the end. I don't care what anyone says. He does the little movement to say, right, you ain't getting the ball after me. And this is only stuff that I can speak on playing the game and knowing the little dark arts of what's what. And I know that there is for me. Let me just keep it out. Goalkeepers are overprotected in the game. And then he gets the foul and he gives a little cheeky grin like, yeah, I got away with one.
Thanks for watching this video from our Champions Club coverage. For more analysis and for all the games, including EFL, Serie, as well as the full suite of UEFA club competitions like the Women's Champions League, sign up for Paramount+.